right, welcome everyone to the Goffstown School Board meeting. I call this meeting to order at 7 o'clock. If we can all rise and say the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, well, welcome everybody. We're going to start with correspondence.
Nothing this evening.
Okay. Accommodations, good news. I'd like to welcome Lily back as our student rep for the next 2 years, correct? So we met Lily at the end of the last school year, but now she is officially here. So this is when I'm going to call on you to give us any updates on the high school.
I'm ready.
Always feel free throughout our meeting, raise your hand, questions, comments, anything.
Thank you.
So go ahead, Lily.
Yeah, so I just want to start off with our homecoming committee is starting to meet every week, and we're very excitedly preparing for homecoming. So homecoming this week is going to include dress-up days throughout the week, lunch activities, and then finally we get our in-school assembly back. And so I haven't had an in-school assembly since I've been in high school, and I'm a junior. So because of COVID, and so we finally get our in-school assembly back. I'm very excited.
Wow.
On that topic, class shirts are available. Order them by September 25th. Our theater show for the fall is Alice in Wonderland, and rehearsals start next week. And for sports, our football team recently collected canned goods for the Take Back Hunger food drive, or Tackle Hunger food drive, excuse me. And they're very successful. And then clubs have started back up, and that is one of my favorite parts. So I'm very excited to get back into the routine of club meetings and club activities.
Awesome. Thank you, Lily.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anyone else? Accommodations, good news? No? You see enough? All right. Moving on, do we have public comment for tonight's agenda? Go ahead. Is it for tonight's agenda?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Have a seat. You know the routine. Name and address.
My name is Donna Pinard, and I live at 65 Riverview Park Road.
Thank you.
I believe it's on the agenda. Please stop me if it's not. But the guiding principles, is that tonight? Yeah, it is tonight. Okay.
Yep.
I just question why we're doing guiding principles. It seems like we're. Here's my fear. When we did Plan Palooza for the Pinardville thing years ago, I asked them to remove the word sustainability and use a synonym that I didn't like, and they didn't want to do that. And the fear is, and I worked for attorneys for 4 years before I started teaching, and so there's equivocation where we change the definition of words. So my fear is that we adopt the guiding principles, and then down the road, the definition of a certain word will change, and they're going to say, but you voted for it. So if you're going to do the guiding principles, then please make sure you define each word in the guiding principles so that down the road when they attempt to change, the definition of vaccine or the definition of recession, or when they attempt to change the definition of a word, you can say, well, we didn't vote for that because here's the definition. And I was a philosophy major for my undergrad, you always define your terms before you debate so that you don't go off and end up agreeing to things that might have a different definition than you thought. That's it.
Thank you so much, Donna. Anyone else? Did you have public comment tonight, sir? No? Okay. So I will close public comment. The next is approving August 29th minutes. Everybody have a chance to read through them?
Sorry.
Did you have something, Alan?
I'll move.
Well, she asked the question, so I had to answer it. No, but I trust all you guys as well
Thank you, Dan.
for what I missed.
All right, go ahead, Ellen.
Okay, well, we have two sets. I think we do them
We
separately.
have non-public and
We have non-publics. First time I think we're approving non-public because we didn't seal them.
yes.
So I'm going to move that we approve the non-public minutes of August 29th.
Okay, do I have a second? By Shane. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining? Okay, we're unanimous. All right, you want to do the next one now?
Yep, I'll move the approval of the school board meeting of August 29th.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
By Shane, thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining? Okay, we're unanimous. All right, so now we're gonna get on to committee reports. So Scott, Dan, manifest and stuff?
I'll start, if that works. I'd like to begin by making a motion that we approve a manifest and the total amount of $2,500,298.69.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, by Caroline. Go ahead, Dan.
We have payroll, taxes, benefits, what we normally do. I have $1,754,000 roughly. We have some sped activity. A lot of these are the normal Durham School Services, North Star Regional Services, Spalding Academy, Mount Prospect Academy. Those are all, mostly the first one, Durham, is transportation, $74,000. The other ones are out-of-district placements. North Star and Regional Services, we're paying $33,000 plus and $28,000 plus for the whole first semester. We're paying it in advance, which is kind of unusual, but it's nice to see that we're not a year and a half behind or something. So if, for instance, the student no longer attends that facility for the period of time, we will get a refund. So we're not too worried about having that done in advance. September was for Spalding and $25,000 out of districts. As I always mentioned, Mount Prospect was summer services, which was back in the summer. It's not too bad. It's only September, $10,851. Some contracted services, Johnson ABA Consulting for September, $6,400, and Core Vocational for $5,600. Some general expenses that we have, we are paying the SAU September assessment, $186,000 roughly. And then we have several other expenditures totaling $408,000. For instance, Premier Asphalt, seal coating repairs, line striping. Some of these are coming out of the funds that we got that were non-general funds. Any questions on those? I'm sure Scott can help us out on that. Premier Asphalt, $38,000. Impact Fire Service, we seem to have some fire and sprinkler repairs that are coming up, $26,000.
There's more coming, unfortunately.
Yeah, and so the question came up at A&F that says, okay, is this from any malfeasance, or is there rough housing with fire sprinklers? The answer is no. It's just age generated, and so we're okay there. Eversource Electricity, $20,000. IT hardware from Connection Financial, $16,600. Custodial supplies from the Home Depot Pro, $16,600. We paid Plodzik and Sanderson. They're the company who does the auditing. It's about a little under $12,000. We bought some printers, theater costumes, and school supplies from Amazon, $10,300. Brian's ESC team, that's the sports uniforms and equipment, about $9,800. School specialty is the school supplies, $9,400. Gov Connection is where we buy our software and licenses from, about $9,200. We paid for our copier maintenance and managed printing services, $8,000 from Budget Document Tech. High Noon Books is some at Maple Ave. Those are workbooks, not textbooks, $7,600. Fortinet is our IT surplus from E+ Technology. It's $7,200. The Goffstown High School boys and girls soccer uniforms, TL Sports, $6,700. WB Mason, as we all know, it's paper and school supplies, $6,700. And remember that the new contract, we're going to start seeing that from Staples for the paper. They were a lot, well, they were less expensive, because we've been with WB Mason on paper for years and years and years, but I guess it's very volatile right now, the paper. Hussey Seating, these are the bleacher inspections that we need to have, and that's at all schools from what I understand, $6,500. Pelmac Industries, security system maintenance, $5,600. And we bought some wire, which the IT staff pulled over the summer. CMS Communications, $5,500. And for two of the food, and commodities. Performance food service for the food is $22,600. And from Kittredge, we bought that steam table we had talked about. It has all the little pieces. It's just not a table. It's a functioning piece of equipment that keeps the food warm and things. And that's $22,080. It's more than a hot plate. It's a very complicated, expensive piece of stainless steel.
Go ahead, Ellen.
A question. Is it possible for the list, I think at one point they did, but I might not be thinking correctly, that if any of these items are purchased using
Non-general funds?
non-taxation funds, what word?
Like grants and-
Grants,
Yeah.
and like the kitchen stuff, I'm thinking that comes out of that fund.
That fund.
Yep.
But could we see what comes out of a grant fund, or, the ESSERs like we have listed?
I usually do that,
Yeah.
just aren't
I'm
any.
not-
Okay, we
Yeah,
used
no,
to.
you're right. We do, Scott does put that down.
It's good that you remind me that I'm thinking correct.
You are on the right track.
Yeah, according to the manifest detail that we go ahead and sign, we spent about $20,000 in here on non-payroll items that came out of the special revenue fund.
Okay.
Anyone else have any questions for Dan? We have a motion, we have a second. No questions? All right, if no further discussion, I'll take a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Did you have a question?
Yeah, but it's okay to have voted.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
just a general.
We're unanimous, Denise.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to, I understand, I understand special ed. Are we continuing to look and try and keeping students here on our own programs?
We
Or to-
absolutely do.
And try and
and
maybe even make a program?
We have done that for the last 15 years.
Okay,
I
just-
again, don't want to get into a lot of
Nope,
details
nope.
on these, but this also includes court placements,
Yep. And-
just to remind you of that.
And these are, some of these residential?
Yep.
Yeah, so they're more extreme, but I always feel like if there's something we can do, if there's a program we can do here, that we keep on it and let the public know that
Right.
this is something we
Absolutely.
take very seriously, and I know we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. All right, Scott, is there any,
Well, I was
Oh.
going to talk about the cost overages for the district window program.
Yep, go ahead.
And Scott can pipe in.
Sure.
At A&F, what we did is we have an overage that we had on the Windows project. One of those items is the overage that we can account of $16,506.24 specifically at Bartlett. And as you know, Scott's been talking about,
hey, everybody should have
Yeah, there's a memo.
your memos in your packet so you can see.
There's a memo specific to this?
Could be.
Yes. It should say memo, and then the other one is cost overages for district window project. You guys see it?
If not, they're coming around now.
No?
That's it.
Did you find yours, Jared?
Everything on Jared?
Thank you.
I have plenty.
You say it is, and it is.
Ah, here it is.
It should be in there, but this was another.
I got one, thank you.
Yep, we all have it.
I'm gonna get here an hour early to go through this.
Yeah, so what we really are talking about is we have a very old capital reserve project called the Bartlett Capital Reserve Fund. And that has in it a balance of $7,758.93. Unanimously, the A&F committee is recommending that we take that money and use that to offset some of the overages that we've had to do for the windows at Bartlett. And when the time comes, which is only in a couple of months, we'll also put something on the ballot that says, there's no money left in the fund, we've used it all up, can we go ahead and technically remove it? Because, between now and then, it's possible someone, a generous donor may want to say, hey, I want to put some money into the infrastructure at Bartlett. So we have that opportunity between now and then. But that's what we have. Do we have any questions on that? Yeah.
Do the voters have to vote to close it?
Yes.
Because we
They
voted to
They
start.
voted to open it, and they
Got
need
it.
to vote to close it. But there's no money in it.
Okay.
If we make a motion
Right.
to use whatever is left in it to go against that $16,000.
Are you making that motion?
Which is on the back.
I'm wondering whether or not we have
Does anybody have any
further
questions?
discussion before we make the motion.
And we're only doing the top part of the motion. We decided we are not going to motion to put it on the warrant article yet. We'll do that in November, December, when we do everything. So is everybody good with this?
If there are no further questions, I'll make a motion that we liquidate the Bartlett Capital Reserve Fund with how much is in the fund at the time, and deposit those funds into the Capital Projects Fund to partially offset the $16,506.24 in the project costs incurred to make the needed repairs to the Bartlett Elementary School.
Thank you, Dan. Do I have a
Second.
second? By Ellen. Any other discussion before I take a vote? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, we're unanimous. All right, Dan.
And Scott, I don't know if you wanted to touch on the other items similar to the entire project that we're going to do and go from there.
Yeah, so you'll note that after that liquidation of the Bartlett Capital Reserve Fund, we're going to have an overage balance of about $36,000. And there are, pretty much three different options. One, we could utilize our Capital Reserve Fund. Option two is we're going to be getting a refund check from the New Hampshire retirement system, and we're going to be getting that in October, November. Early indications are that it's going to be somewhere between $300,000 and $350,000. And at that time, the board can do what they did last year with the health trust refund, where you can accept and expend from it. But we don't have the money right now, so I don't think it's appropriate to do that.
And Scott, have we heard definitively what the number is going to be?
No.
Okay.
So I don't know what that number is. I did some rough calculations. It's only based upon 7.5% of what is our teacher retirement. But that number fluctuates, so depending upon which teachers are on our books at the time. So I don't know exactly what the number is. And then the third option is to use general fund monies that would require a transfer. I'm just recommending, I asked the A&F committee, let's just wait and see. There really is no rush. We have cash flow. We've already paid it. It's just a matter of addressing the overage, and I would wait until October, November, and then make a decision, at that time, how we want to proceed, with it. But it's going to reappear on our future agenda.
Anybody have any
And if I could,
questions?
just wanted, for the public, so they know, we had a problem with the asbestos that was contained in the caulking. So although we had a contingency reserve for that project, there was well over $150,000 of unanticipated expenses due to the mitigation of that asbestos. Because of that, even if we would have had our $50,000 reserve, you can see, we would have picked all this up. But we ran out of ESSER 2 funds, basically. So that's why we have the overage. It was not something that we could decide not to do. We had to make these masonry repairs. We had to do the window wells at Bartlett, and we had to fix the concrete. We couldn't leave it as is, so we did what we did there. So just wanted you to know the reason why there was an overage.
Okay. Go ahead, Jay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Do we have the capability of using any remaining ESSER 3 funds for the overages?
The answer to that is yes and no. So if we would have to submit another application and go through that entire process all over again, not to mention that we've kind of earmarked a lot of ESSER 3 already, whether that be the field that we're going to be talking about, math curriculum, there's other things that we've kind of earmarked. So without knowing where all of those things are headed, I didn't go in that direction.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Ellen.
Was this $150,000 overage earmarked already from ESSER funds?
So the $150,000,
Yeah.
was we spent our entire ESSER 2 allocation, which was roughly $1.1 million. Originally, this project was about $150,000 less. Just to refresh the board's memory, we thought we would be able to do the Mountain View bus turnaround within ESSER 2, which
Right.
was about $150,000. So we had to move that to ESSER 3 to deal with the asbestos.
Okay, that gets to why I asked that question.
Yeah.
I know I'd like, at one point, you provided us with a listing of what all the grant monies were earmarking to be used for. This sounds to me like a pretty significant adjustment needing to be made, so I'd like to request that we receive an adjustment of those funds and what we're looking to use them for, because certainly this wasn't what's on our CIP. Something else was going to be used. So I'd like to get an adjusted listing.
Like the remaining
Yeah,
funds
well,
available kind of thing?
Well, obviously, something else was going to be done with
What do you,
this
what do you
funds.
think, Mr. Gross?
It's like I stated earlier, the only thing that changed was that we had, our original plan was the Windows project and the Mountain View bus turnaround. And we had allocated $150,000 for that bus turnaround. When we recognized that we had asbestos and we were going to have about $150,000 of mitigation work, we moved the bus turnaround to ESSER 3.
Okay, what was ESSER 3 then prior to that earmarked for?
There was nothing earmarked for that, so it sucked up whatever was left. So we had about $150,000 that was unaccounted for, okay?
In ESSER 3.
In ESSER 3. The board had not made any decisions, but when this asbestos issue came up, that money was then earmarked for asbestos.
And Scott's going to update us on the Mountain View turnaround also, so that may put you at ease for that $150,000.
Okay.
Or maybe not.
Or
but-
maybe not,
yeah.
depending. So are you good, Alan?
Yeah, I'm gonna,
So nothing got changed? We just used all of ESSER 2 for the Windows
Yeah.
project, correct?
and so
Yeah.
nothing on CIP was, or anything else in our discussions of how we pay for things, was going to be previously earmarked to be used out of ESSER 3.
Nothing has changed in terms of CIP, what we had earmarked for using grants, nothing.
And no
Because
ESSER
when
3
we-
funds are in CIP?
Yes. You have the field is ESSER funds that is in CIP.
In ESSER 3?
Yes,
And that's still there?
still there, yeah.
Okay.
Are you good?
Yep, fine.
All right, if you think of something else, let us know. All right, Scott, go ahead, finish up.
All right, so the Mountain View bus turnaround, as I mentioned at our last meeting, the bids, we had earmarked $150,000 for that project, and unfortunately, it looks like that project is going to come in at the bids came in anywhere from $200,000 to $220,000. And speaking with Randy Loring, our facilities director, I also spoke with Dan Tatum at Stantec, our civil engineering firm, and, it's our recommendation that we rebid this project in either December of this year or January of 2023 for summer construction. We feel as if we'll get hopefully a more competitive price, because when we put this out to bid, it was a very tight window of construction. And the second thing that we want to explore in that period of time is, can we juggle some things around with use of grant funds? It might be more advantageous to us to pull this project out of ESSER, use perhaps, like I stated earlier at the last meeting, this retirement system refund, use that instead. It could make the project less expensive because now you don't have to pay what's called Davis-Bacon federal wages on it. And then we can put IT type things into the ESSER budget, which again, you're not going to pay prevailing competitive wages on IT equipment. So it just gives Randy, myself, and the administration a little bit more time to figure out what's the most advantageous way of using these grant dollars. You know, for the board and for those of you who are watching, whenever you have a federal construction project that is, you know, that's big grant funded, you are paying a pretty substantial premium on your wages. So just to give you in perspective, for that window and the asbestos, if we had this under a regular project, those wages would have been about $40 an hour, maybe 45, to do the asbestos mitigation work. Because it was a federally funded project, we were mandated to spend almost $75 an hour for that component of the project. So it's a significant difference. So it's, and again, that's with any federal project, you have to pay those set wages. So it gives us an opportunity to take a step back and say, are there other things that we can use this grant money for to make our dollars stretch a bit better? And if we can, we'll do it. If we can't, we'll let you know. But it just gives us that time to revisit it.
Anyone on the turnaround? Alan, you look like you're still confused.
No, I'm not confused, it's just things that, I'll just go there. The monies for the New Hampshire retirement were paid previous year out of local taxpayer appropriation, is that correct?
Yes.
So another option would be to use that money and return it to the taxpayer. Just bringing that up, I don't know what we'll be returning. I know we generally do our very best to return as much as possible.
We do.
Right.
I know we do.
Yep.
But it's also, you know, that specific amount came directly out of the taxpayers' pockets and didn't have to be there, didn't have to come there. So just something else that we can consider as we're looking at, we've already raised it twice as how we can offset. But then again, you can argue, well, if we take it from someplace else, then that, down the road, it comes out of the same pockets. But I thought it's a good idea to mention that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Alan. Anyone else on the turnaround? All right, Scott.
All right, so the next topic that we discussed at the A&F committee was the field renovation. Ellen is on the field renovation committee. We've met once, we're meeting again on Wednesday. Ellen doesn't know this yet, but she will know now, is that we did get a final proposal from Field Turf, and we'll go over that on Wednesday. The good news is that their proposal numbers came in within what they had originally quoted us. It was I'd say maybe 10, 15,000 less than what they quoted us, but for the board and for the public, you know, we're looking at the field itself, about $1.23 million. The lighting is about $447,000, and then they gave us different a la carte pricing for a bleacher extension and press box. They also gave us alternatives for netting as well as to paving around the bleachers and the field. And that's all things that the committee will take a look at. In terms of the funding, I did have a conversation with the donor before I was out all last week, but I did have a conversation with him. And what this gentleman is proposing is he is going to be donating stock to the school district, of which there will be capital gains type appreciation. And I'll be working with our school district attorney to meet with both him and his accountant to discuss what that transaction will look like. This gentleman is looking to donate about $250,000 at the end of this year, and then the balance of that in early 2023. In meeting with our attorney, I'm going to need to discuss with him how our agreement with Field Turf will line up, because right now we don't have those funds. So it'll be a contract or an agreement that will be contingent upon all of that. So right now, we have enough to do the field itself, but the lighting, not all the lighting would be covered without this gentleman's contribution. So I just want to be careful. I don't want to spend money that we do not physically have in our hands. So That's where it'll be important to have our attorney draft up an agreement, with that. The other thing is that I've heard from some of you and others in the community about, is there going to be a track? No, there's not a track. Track would probably add another $700,000 or more to a project like this. Space is also a big concern. We do not have the space to put a track on that field unless we reconfigured everything, and we would lose a lot of practice fields. There was also, we've had conversations, and I've heard people talking about, can we get regular restrooms? So unfortunately, we can't put, with what we have here, which is monies that are not being raised through taxation. So we're talking a grant, a private donation, and impact fees. Our plan, and we mentioned this with Ellen at our committee, is to put in all of the infrastructure work so that we'll put in pipes and conduit and everything in locations where we think, say, bathrooms might be, or that where we think there might be another structure. And then at least it's there. So we can't rip up this field and put those pipes or put that extra electrical conduit. We have to pre-plan all of that. So we'll have that ready to go so that whether it be a year or two from now or 10 years from now, if there's another phase to this project, all of the utility work will be underground, ready to go. So that's really it's a pretty exciting direction that we're headed in. Justin Huft is aware that our lacrosse season, for the most part, is going to have to be off-site, because the plan is that we could start construction this winter, depending upon how mild it is. But the plan is that we're going to have spring construction with completion in July, August. So that's what the game plan is, and that means that we would not have any type of sports on that backfield.
Just for the spring season.
Just for the spring season. The goal, because there's only one sport that's played in the spring, and that's boys and girls lacrosse. In the fall, we have field hockey, football, and soccer. So it's used a lot more during the fall. So that's the reason for that. And I think that's it on the field. Any questions on that?
Oh, go ahead, Retta.
So do you have a location for the lacrosse? Where
Yeah,
they'll
Justin's working with not only the town, because the town has fields that are by the transfer station. I know he's having conversations with St. Anselm College and other local spaces, but more than likely it would be either Lions Field, or it would be the new complex that's by the transfer station. There are 2 rectangular fields down there. And then we'd have to obviously transport the students.
Anyone else? Jenny?
I just want to say I appreciate the foresight to think ahead for like the plumbing and all of that stuff, so the project can continue in the future as need be without messing things up that have already been put in.
Right.
Because I think it probably will be a continuing project over time. So, awesome.
Thank you, Jenny. Ellen?
I have a whole report here from that committee.
All right, yeah.
Thanks, Scott.
We'll get to that in a minute.
No, but it's okay. Scott covered most of the things, but I did want to say that thanks, Scott. He has done a huge amount of beforehand investigating and reaching out to people who have used the same company we're looking to use, and they're very happy with that work and the kind of approvals we've already received. And he's spoken with St. A's and others that have used these people to do this kind of work. And I think doing that way in advance is probably what's enabling us to get this going sooner rather than later.
Right.
In the backfield. The committee did discuss the ideas of maybe doing some public fundraising, thinking either while it's happening or afterwards with regard to a gate for ticket sales, concession stand, bathrooms, things like that happening out there, additional power sources, things like that. So that came up from one of the committee members as well. And it looks like we're in great shape for this to be there
Yeah,
in the
that's
next
great.
school year. So I wanted to publicly thank Scott for doing all that work
Yeah.
ahead of time.
It's been a big project.
Yeah,
It is a big project.
it is a big project, but having someone who looked at it ahead of time and sees what's coming and
Right.
speaking with others who have done this type of work before, I think it's just put us in a great position to get moving on it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ellen. Anyone else on the field? Scott, I know do you have more?
No,
Not on the field, but other
Like I said,
stuff from.
after I meet with our school district attorney, I'll know more about, I'm also meeting with the Department of Education on Friday, the people who do all the grants, because this one is a little bit, it's unique, and I have to make sure that, the timing, I'm sure that this company is going to want me to sign an agreement with them, but I have to do it in a calculated way because I don't have all of the funds just yet.
Right.
So there has to be like escape clauses, or, you can order the lights as soon as, like, whenever I tell you can order the lights. You can engineer for the lights, but I can't physically buy them until I know that I have the donor's money in hand type
Right.
of thing. So I just wanted the board to know, that this is a little unusual in how often do you get a $500,000 private donation? So
Right.
we have to.
Absolutely.
Hopefully with increasing frequency.
Yeah,
And open invitation to any members of the public who might be so willing and able. Start a new pattern.
Yeah.
All right, Scott, is there more with A&F?
Yeah, so the next was the Goffstown High School LED sign is going to be installed this week. So that is a very similar, it's a little bigger than the one that Parks and Rec has. And the staff here, there's 4 or 5 of them that have been trained on how to put the messages up. So if you're having a birthday party, no, Jared's looking at him. But I did learn, Jared, how to do this, so just in case, I had to do it.
We're all a little nervous.
Well, you never know. We may need, I talked to A&F, we may need a policy on this. Rick, the town has one, and I'm going to ask Derek for a copy of that. We've never been asked whether we could put something on the sign, like, let's say there's a Touch a Truck event or something like that by
We're
Mary Lou.
definitely, I would say
Yeah.
we're not approving any of those.
Yeah,
I mean,
so-
so we could talk about a policy,
Exactly,
but
so-
there is no fair way to do
Yep.
that. And that's not the intent of this sign, is
Right.
not to advertise for
Exactly, but-
other agents.
Theirs allows the school to advertise on their sign, and that might be something that if there was an election, that we would do something with a governmental agency. But I just wanted you to know that when you do something like this, it does have some consequences to it. Dan, did you want to talk about the authorization to pay between meetings?
Yes. What happens sometimes is we meet every 2 weeks, sometimes it's maybe 3 weeks, depending on the number of weeks in a month, and an invoice would come in late. And rather than wait for us, because the statute says without our approval, we don't make payments, except for the payroll, because we've already made payments, approved the payroll by the nature of the payroll. So what we're asking for is, what you've heard for before, is to authorize the business administrator to make and pay invoices between meetings out of sequence if, what's the 2 words we're looking for? If necessary and required.
Yeah.
So that, 1, we don't pay late fees. 2, if there's a discount that might come involved. And that payment must be reported to us separately at the next meeting. So we know, and it doesn't matter how much it is. It could be $300, but we would want to know the out-of-sequence payment. I don't think we talked about that one at A&F, but I think that's a
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah, it's what we've done. This is past practice, so I just like to do it every September, just to let you, just so I have that authority for auditing purposes, that they know that I have that ability to do that.
And that would be, the time involved, what it would be for the whole current school
year.
year would be up for debate for you guys to determine the length of time.
Go ahead, Ellen.
Are you done with that?
I am done, thank you.
With the field again, Scott, when you said we got the numbers, we got new numbers from the company, was that as a result of the test drilling, the
Oh,
soil,
that's an
water,
opposite.
ledge?
Yeah,
That
wait,
was-
what are you talking about? The field, back
Field.
to the field? Okay.
That's why I asked him if he was done.
Oh, yeah,
I
but we
was
have to
done
do
that
motions.
particular
Oh, okay, go
comment.
ahead, I'll wait.
We haven't
Hang on one
finished the
second,
particular
Ellen.
topic yet.
Okay.
So does anybody have any questions on the authorization? If not, we need a motion for that. Dan, do you want to do the motion?
I'll make a motion that we allow the business administrator to make out-of-sequence payments on invoices when required and necessary, and to report back to the board for each of those payments at the, what's the word I'm looking for? At the next successful school board meeting.
Okay, everybody good? Second by Ginny. Any further discussion? Go ahead, Jared.
Dan, would you accept a friendly amendment that would be for this fiscal year?
Oh, absolutely, for this school fiscal year, yes.
All right, Ginny, do you accept that?
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. So, any further discussion? Thank you, Jared. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Okay, we're unanimous on that. And before you go, Ellen, with the sign, you needed a motion for a transfer.
That is that's the scoreboard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, different one. Okay, Ellen, what was your question about the field?
No, I had some more information. I did have, my question about the other pricing you got, Scott?
Yes.
Was that a result of the test drilling they did?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because you had mentioned that was going to give us more accurate numbers.
There's ledge on
There
the
is a
far
piece
side of
of
the
ledge,
field. They
yes.
have to do core drilling to put the
Right.
lights in, and then they're going to do a spread foundation on the other two
Right.
lights.
And the committee also discussed that there is maintenance needed for a turf field. And we need some grooming equipment, and the field apparently needs to be disinfected.
The grooming equipment is
So-
included in the price.
Right. And I think overall, in the discussion came out, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, that it's not going to be costing any more than what what it takes to maintain the current field. So for our budgeting purposes, am I correct about that? I think that's what
correct.
came
I
out
did
of our
not-
discussion.
I did not make adjustments to our
Right.
next year's budget in light of this artificial surface field, because it's my opinion that it will be a trade-off.
Right. The other thing was the committee, where'd it go? Oh, the thought of us potentially renting this field, and possibly the policy, the facilities use policy may need to include that specific field. And the suggestion that, for security, that we have video surveillance out there for it. If we put all this into it, that we'd be able to monitor it.
watch it.
That came up during the committee. I think I got it all.
Okay. All right,
You know, when we're pulling the wire through all those tubes that we're gonna have to put in, make them big enough to put some
security
extra,
stuff.
extra wire, extra
We
cable.
already have cameras and some expansion capacity, but it's on the press box side of things. So we would need to pull some additional cabling to do anything over where the bleachers are. We don't have, there's no power in there.
Right.
So that we would have to do.
But the other side of the field, we already have that capacity, so, and we already have, the cabling running out there. So in addition to power, we already have the,
We also have to make sure we have enough water out there for the field maintenance, kind of thing, to spray it.
Right,
I didn't know it needed that kind of stuff,
Right.
but
okay.
Scott's aware of those things and has, like I said, he's looked into this. So I think this committee.
So you're going to be meeting again before
We
the
need,
next meeting, so we need,
September 21st. 6
all right,
o'clock,
so we
yeah.
need to make sure that we're putting this on our committee reports, Denise, if we can. All right, yes, Dan?
In 60 seconds or less, why do we have to, I heard water for a turf field. Why?
Because it needs to be sprayed down unless there's a piece of equipment that doesn't require that there be water there. But the committee discussed the need for water.
Two primary reasons.
Yeah.
One is in case of biohazard, i.e. blood, you have to wash that out.
I would think so, yeah.
And that's
okay.
one. And then the second reason is more athletics related, and it has to do with girls' field hockey. It is oftentimes watered before a game to get maximum
Slipping?
This is what I'm learning.
Sliding?
Yes, it's to get maximum
Reduce the
speed off the
friction.
turf.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so we
I
good?
don't think I'm the only one that had the question.
No, that's a good question. Thank you,
We're going to
Dan.
grow it.
Yeah.
The artificial turf is going to
Two
grow.
more?
I would just say, and we don't have to get into this in any greater detail, but when you think about a turf field, you also just have to remember, they don't last forever.
Right.
So when you do this, you have to think about the replacement of that field. So
Yeah.
it seems a little scary to think about replacing a field that you haven't even installed yet, but you really do have to think. These fields probably last 15 to 20 years.
12 to 15.
They may not last that long. I think ours will last longer. I think we'll take good care of it. But they don't last forever, and they do have to be replaced. The carpet does.
Carpet.
Right.
Carpet.
So you don't have to do the whole shooting match. You're not going to redo earthwork, you're not going to redo drainage, but you do have to replace the carpet and some of the other components of it.
Okay.
And
All
when
right.
we do, we can sell pieces of the old one for people to put in their backyards.
There you go.
No, I'm serious,
Yeah,
because.
you can.
Putting green in the backyard, I like it.
Fundraising for the new field. There we go.
All right, so I think Scott's still got more A and F. Are we good
Yeah, we
with
do.
field?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Scott.
So we did have a few, three pieces of other business. You should have in your packets a memo, I believe it's from Kurt McDermott, and it's regarding GAP teacher compensation. Hopefully you have that. So you should recall that we were previously paying our teachers in Goffstown $25 an hour for certain activities, namely, this is one of them, or I'm trying to think of what are some other things that we do?
Tutoring.
Tutoring,
Community
professional
work.
development, et cetera. And in trying to keep in line with that, obviously, the adult education program is no different in terms of they hire most of the folks are staff here within the district. So, but the little bit of difference is that rather than paying on an hourly basis, Kurt has worked with myself and Kate, and Brian's been involved in some of these discussions. We're more inclined to go with a stipend for a semester's worth of activity. So you can, and what this equates to, and Dan asked us in the A&F meeting, is that this equates to a little bit over $35 an hour. Don't quote me on the exact amount. I think it was 36 and change. But so for the fall semester, a teacher would work 10 weeks. This would include their prep time and the actual time teaching, entering grades, you name it. That would be $1,600. The spring semester is much longer. That's 17 weeks. The stipend would be $2,720. There is a counselor. That's a 35-week commitment. The stipend there would be $5,600. And then there's a distance learning coordinator and HiSet, which is more of like your Plato virtual, learning, online type learning. And that's a 40-week commitment. That's $6,400. The important thing that the board should recognize, as well as the public, is that all of these stipends are 100% reimbursable by the state of New Hampshire Department of Ed. But it's important that we're consistent with what we're paying our teachers for PD and tutoring, et cetera, with what we're paying our GAP folks. The only difference is rather than having them commit, write down every hour that they're doing prep, and this is a bit easier on everybody in terms of Kurt managing it, the business office paying it, we pay it as a stipend. It's kind of like a adjunct professor type model. So if that is amenable to the board, it would just be, a motion to accept Mr. McDermott's recommendation for GAP compensation.
Go ahead, Jarrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just because we're using the term stipend, I know that we've recently completed our extracurricular stipends. Does this have to follow that same type of formula because it's stipend, and can we make sure that we clearly differentiate that?
Yes, we can do that. This is also not part of the collective bargaining agreement as well. Separate.
Good
That's a good
thought,
question.
Jared. Anyone else? Ellen?
Yeah, the current went by hours. This seems to be going by weeks.
It's weeks, but more so it's by, again, think of it as an adjunct professor where they're teaching a particular class for a duration of time. So it's more, think of it more as a semester or a period of time versus hours or even weeks.
So that comes out to like $160 a week, regardless of the amount of hours?
But it also, correct, but more often than not, again, this is why Kurt went through all of this, that it averages about a little over $35 an hour in that respect. There are some that might have a little more prep than others, some might have a little bit less, so it can fluctuate, don't get me wrong. But again, we try to go with more of that adjunct professor model.
Jared, did I see your hand up?
Yeah, just a comment on that. Thank you, Ms. Chair. As an adjunct professor, we're getting a deal with this type of model. So I can tell you that a lot more prep time is probably going to go into what's actually being and has been recorded. So I am in full support of this approach.
Is there
We
any
can-
other?
we-
Go
we-
ahead, Dan.
Yeah, we can actually pay the teachers to do the prep, not to account for their time. And the results, of course, whenever we do anything like this, we ought to have something that shows the results. How do we know it's working? How do we know that you're doing a good job, Jared?
Because I'm awesome. And they bring me back.
And they bring him back.
Any questions?
And as a self-evaluation, that works pretty good.
Dan, come with me tomorrow when I'm teaching my class. You'll
Yeah.
just see the awesomeness.
No, I don't know if it's an appropriate thing. I mean, are people doing better? Are they doing work? I mean,
RateMyProfessor.com.
yeah, oh, I like that.
Yes.
But these people do get evaluated, right?
They do. So
Yeah.
I think what I would recommend is, this is Mr. McDermott's recommendation. Scott helped him kind of figure out the numbers. It is a different way of doing things. I would agree with Jared. It's a good deal. It's all being reimbursed by the state by doing it this way, so it makes sense. I would say, if the board is inclined to support this, let us go through it for the rest of the year. We'll have Mr. McDermott do a little bit of an analysis. How did it work? We could, touch base with some of the teachers, and did they like it better? Did they like it worse? Some might like to get paid more frequently, even though it's a smaller amount. Everybody kind of manages their cash flow differently, but I would say it makes sense to give this a try, see how it works, and then we can evaluate it from there.
Is there a motion on the floor?
Oh, wait, got it.
I just wanted to add what Jared was saying, that this is reasonable. How do you know anyone's ever learning? I mean, that this is what happens when you teach. There's evaluations, and it's a lot of, I'm assuming the teachers are gonna love this a lot more. It's less, spending most of your time tracking your time.
So if there's no other questions or discussions, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, I'll move.
Okay, or nobody wants to do it right now.
Were you listening?
All right, so Ellen, you're making a motion?
Oh, I'm going to move that the board adopt the proposal for the gap compensation.
Okay. And Shane seconds. Is that good, Scott? That
Yes.
covers everything?
That's fine.
All right, any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, we're unanimous. Okay.
All right, the other one you should have in your packets, and that's the upper sport field scoreboard that was replaced. And the board, if you recall, the board voted to use funds from your capital reserve fund for that purpose. So that being said, the scoreboard and installation came out to $25,823. The electrician, although we budgeted $1,500, it came in at $608.50, and then we didn't use any of a contingency reserve. So the total spent on that scoreboard replacement was $26,431.50. And the A&F committee did recommend that the board proceed with the motion, which is to withdraw those funds from the Capital Reserve Fund, which is held by the Goffstown Board of Trustees of Trust Funds, and to deposit it into the school district's Capital Projects Fund, which is Fund 30, of which $26,431.50 will fund that scoreboard. So this is a technical thing where we're taking it from the trustees and we're depositing it into our own district funds to pay, to reimburse that payment.
Anybody have any questions? All right, the motion is written out if somebody wants to read it. Oh, Dan?
I'll make a motion that we withdraw the $26,431.50 from the Facilities Capital Reserve Fund held by the Town of Goffstown trustees of the trust funds and deposit those funds into our Capital Projects Fund, which is Fund 30, all of which will fund the GHS Upper Sport Field Scoreboard.
It's a tongue twister. Thank you, Dan. Do I have a second? By Ginny. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, we're unanimous.
One more.
Last one's on you.
This one's on me. Okay, so this was a request, so as you know, I sit on policy. Policy meets Monday nights once a month, an hour and a half, and then right after is C&E, an hour and a half-ish, I guess. There's two administrators on each committee that came. One came to me, and one came to Ginny, who's the chair of C&E, asking if we could have Denise take minutes. Administrators are usually doing the presenting of policies or C&E, they're answering questions, and they're taking minutes. So it's a lot for them to do. I did speak to Denise, and she was willing to do it. But we do need to pay her, and this would start in November. So I did talk to Scott. My recommendation is $150 for policy, which is an hour and a half. C&E would be an hour and a half, $150. I don't know if you guys go over 2-3 hours.
Try not to.
So I think if you went over too much, we may have to think of a little, $25 or something, because it is a lot of time. Denise does not only our minutes, but New Boston School Board, New Boston Policy, and this is just one of her million jobs that she does. And it's a huge appreciation. So I needed to bring it to you guys to discuss, and if everybody's okay with it. Scott, you said we had enough for it this year, and then in the budget for next year, we would put it in the budget.
I'll do a budget transfer. I'm anticipating that it will be somewhere between $2,400 to $3,000 for that purpose.
Yeah, because each committee meets once a month.
It's 8 meetings for each of the subcommittees.
Yeah.
And then I built in a little bit of overage just in case, a
Right.
meeting went longer.
Yeah. So if anybody has questions or comments, go ahead, Jared.
This might be a hard one, but what line items is coming out of, or would this come out of? Would this be a stipend line item?
No, what comes out of school board stipend line. Yep.
Which we kind of segregated from?
We did.
Okay.
Yep. In the notes, it's segregated. I just did the budget, so between
Thank
school
you.
board stipends
Yeah.
And I honestly think that our meetings will probably be shorter if, we have a budget taker.
Can we hold you to that, or is that?
Minute taker.
Well,
Minute
no, we'll
taker.
get more done within the limited time that we do things.
Well, because
Go ahead, Ellen.
everybody sitting at the committee meeting will be focusing on the committee and not have to,
Right, it's
I mean,
hard.
that's a lot of work.
It is, and you need to focus on it and not be presenting and answering questions.
I'd like to move that we
So,
approve
go ahead,
that
Ellen.
recommendation. Do we need a dollar amount in there, or that we
Yeah,
approve?
no, what do you think? I had recommended an
I
amount.
think the amount, $150 a meeting is,
That we approve formal minutes be taken at the policy and C&E
Yeah.
subcommittee meetings at $150 each, I guess,
Okay, starting in November.
starting in November.
Okay, all right, so Ellen, motion, do I have a second? by Ginny. Go ahead, Jared.
Just, Scott, do we actually have to do a transfer for this year, or
Yeah,
is there
but
going to have to be a vote for it?
it's within my authority. I can do that.
It's good enough for me.
Okay, you're good? All right, any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining? Thank you, Denise, for doing that for us.
Yes, thank you.
All right, so are we good with A&F?
I think we hold the record for the time.
I know, we had,
That is a record.
had
That
a-
is a record.
we had a lot tonight. All right, so Budget Committee, Ellen, Jared, who's?
Budget Committee, so there is going to be a Bartlett and MVMS tour this Thursday, starting at 6 PM at Bartlett. So 6 PM at Bartlett, 7 PM at the middle school. Again, the public is welcome to these. It is a walkthrough to look at, with the Budget Committee, those facilities and really articulate some of the needs of those facilities as well. The Goffstown High School walkthrough will start at 6 PM next Tuesday, right before the Budget Committee meeting at 7. I'm hoping that Ellen can cover that, but Ellen and I will walk
We'll
through
figure it
those.
out.
But that is the walkthroughs of our schools and the next Budget Committee meeting.
You may not know, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to add, if I may, we held the walkthroughs at Maple Ave and Glen Lake last Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Do you know if they are going to come to our budget presentations? Have they made a decision?
Looking at
Have
the
we
calendar, it
invited
looked like
them?
they were going to
They are.
come.
Okay.
So, if I could, the issue that we have to kind of work through is making sure that there is ample room for everybody to sit around the table. So we might do a different configuration. And also, Heather, I was in a chat with you in terms of trying to have it so that maybe on Monday, because it's a joint meeting, Monday you lead the meeting, and then on the Wednesday, Jeff might lead the meeting, that type of thing.
Okay.
So that was really the only, they just wanted to make sure that they had just as much space to lay out all their stuff. So we might, like I said, I think we'll be able to pull it off in here, but if not, we might have to go classroom style, doing it a little bit different.
We can work on that, Scott. I think the other thing we could do is perhaps Mrs. Moore and myself, Mrs. Kohler, you won't be here that Wednesday.
Right,
You know, we can not
Yeah, we
be
just
sitting
wanted
at
to
the
make sure
table.
that.
We'll make sure there's
the
enough
budget committee
room for
members
everybody.
had space.
Okay. All right, perfect. All right.
Heather?
Yes, Ellen?
Yeah, I went to that meeting.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, the Budget Committee reviewed the status of CIP. The Budget Committee will be meeting, determine that they will continue meeting on Tuesdays during the budget season and Thursdays as needed. And Scott and Danielle gave town and school side budget orientations to the entire Budget Committee. That was there. We updated them on the project, the new field project. And that was it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, guys. PNC.
Yes, PNC met this evening, and we had a lot of things to go over. We approved our meeting schedule for the year, as well as our work plan, which is always a bit a work in progress as things come up. But we did spend quite a bit of time on the debriefing from the retreat and things that we had talked about, a lot of them focusing around communications and connecting with the public, getting information out. We didn't have enough time to really dig into that, so we'll be bringing that back to the committee in November and look at if there's a way to have some standard communication plan moving forward. The other thing that I do want to just make everyone aware is that if you're reading the New Hampshire School Board Association updates, there is going to be a delegate assembly. They have this every year. I went once or twice several years ago. This isn't something we've attended on a regular basis, but it's the school boards around the state. They have resolutions they vote on. But if anyone's interested, let me know. It's October 1st, I believe, from 10 to 1 at the Capone Center. So that's available. Also, there are a number of webinars that they put on, and I believe we are still subscribing to the school board webinars, which means they're free. And because we subscribe, if you can't attend, you can access the recording. One coming up on September 29th is on budgets. So good time if anyone wants to, learn a little bit more about budgeting, you can attend that. Yep.
Rena, I remember getting regular notices of these webinars that we could sign up to as individuals, as school board members. I haven't seen that in ages. Notices of these
You should.
workshops.
Yeah, they're going to your.
Have you guys been
SAU.
getting
Yeah,
them?
it goes to your SAU website.
Yeah, but that comes right through to my
Yeah.
regular email.
Have you not been getting those, Ellen?
No.
They might go under a different folder.
Yeah, my junk mail gets all my important mail.
Yeah, check.
Yeah, because you get everything.
I do, that's,
Did you see something like this yet?
no.
Yeah.
All right. Is it comes through for us?
No.
in
So
a
I'm
different
sure you
manner?
could follow up with them.
It's
They
just
make,
me.
just check to make sure your
Yeah.
email's included.
Because I used to
Yeah. You can always
participate in them
go,
quite often.
go to their website as well.
Okay.
They have them all listed there. And then we'll be talking later about the mission, vision statement for the school board. And that is it.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Retta. All right, CIP, Ellen.
Oh, yeah. Anybody else? Okay, what did we have here? Oh, CIP did report to, reported out to the planning board, and the entire CIP proposal was accepted and voted on. So that had been done and taken care of. I gave them the full report about what we were, school side had, and there were very few, no real questions, as it's pretty much redundant in each school.
Yeah.
And then I did tell them about the one newer item, which was the repairs to paving and sidewalks, things like that. So the
Okay.
entire CIP has been approved by the planning board.
Perfect, thank you. And are you done now with them, meeting?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so we'll take that off for future. All right, Facilities Renovation Committee, Jared.
So that was originally supposed to be presented tonight, but I believe we've moved it to August 17th. Is that correct, Scott? October. It's one of those days. Has the deck been sent out to the members?
I did notify the committee members, the facility committee members know the new date.
No, I meant, has it been sent out to the?
No, I sent it to Denise, and that would be,
Okay. We'll try to send the deck out at least a week in advance so that people can look at it and formulate questions that might occur.
Okay.
Jared, did you say the 24th?
No,
October
he said
17th,
the 17th.
which is we have a meeting there, don't we?
Yeah, school board meeting and budget review.
I thought it was the 24th.
Yeah, that's the date that I had too.
Okay, the 24th is when we'll do
The
it.
24th is an additional school board meeting that month.
So, yeah, that was why I was confused.
I think
That
we
was
did
a
on the
if
24th.
needed.
Yeah, the 24th is an if needed. We have a scheduled board meeting on the 3rd and the 17th.
Because the 24th was the date that we had to adopt the budget, I thought.
Yes, but I thought, because we also meet on the 19th, if we
If
need.
needed.
So it might make sense to do on the 17th because the 24th might not be needed.
Right.
It would
The
make that meeting
24th
longer,
would be
though.
a 3-school, if we did the 24th, that's 3 school board meetings on Monday.
I don't think
that
that, yeah.
month.
So what are we deciding?
So what do you want to do?
I told, Lauren and the other committee members, it was on the 24th.
So if we
So-
just come in the 24th for the presentation, does that work for everybody? Because that's an extra school board meeting
Okay.
that month, not adding all the budget stuff.
So we probably, we'll assume we don't need the budget stuff, and we'll just meet here for the facilities presentation.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. I guess
Is
that
that
can
what it sounds like?
change. So just figure the 24th at 6, as we have it already
6
on the
o'clock.
calendar.
So we're going to add something to that meeting.
We already had it in
Yeah.
as,
That was part of the budget approval.
yep. So let's just keep it in for 6, and we can always at least have Jared do the presentation and let because you were inviting the facilities committee and everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that you guys love to hear me drone on for 2.5 hours. I think it would be a good opportunity for some other members of the community to actually present the work that we
Absolutely.
did.
Yeah.
That way, instead of me sitting down there presenting, I could sit here and have them present and provide any additional articulation.
Yeah, that's fine with me. Everybody good with that?
think that's a good plan.
Okay?
Will we be able to see it beforehand?
Yes.
Yes.
He's going to send it out a week or so.
Scott will send it out.
Yep.
There's, yeah, Scott will send it out a week in advance. When we say Scott, I really mean Denise.
Right. All right, so we're good with everything on that?
6 o'clock GHS.
All right, so we already have we already had the field renovation. You already talked to us about that, Ellen. Okay. Policy review, we met last Monday. We went through a ton of policies, which you will see later on tonight. We have first reads. And our next meeting is November 14th at 5:30 at the SAU. We're not meeting in October because we are together an awful lot that month with budget. C&E.
Okay. I will tell you that C&E is meeting next, not in October also, 11/14, 7 p.m. at the SAU. This month, Kim McCann, on behalf of the Goffstown High School, brought several courses for approval in the areas of social studies and physical education. They proposed 2 new AP courses, AP Economics, offered in grades 10 through 12, and AP Human Geography, offered in 9th grade. AP World History, a 9th grade offering, will continue to remain on the books at the high school as well. 3 new physical education courses were also proposed to replace PE2, Net Games, Walking for Wellness, and an Integrated Well-Being and Fitness. Net Games and Walking for Wellness will offer students an alternative course choice for those not interested in competitive physical education courses, like fitness and conditioning. Integrating Well-Being and Fitness is a full-year course that will satisfy one half credit of health and 1/2 credit of physical education. All of the course descriptions were provided for you in the handouts this evening, with notes in draft form from the meeting as well. None of the courses proposed will require the need for additional hiring. Goffstown High School has also placed the costs associated with the startup of these courses in their budget proposal that we will see as a board in their presentation in October. So you have all of these course proposals that you received so that you could look over them. We can start with the PE courses. Part of the reason for those were there's some issues with the quarter credit for sports that are given, and the issues with some sports don't require much time at all, others require a lot of time. Some of the sports, some of the things that the high school students do, that like dance and equestrian aren't considered NHIA sports. So even though those students should be able to get the credit, they aren't able to because they're not accredited by the NHIA. So there's a lot of inequality in who can get the credit and who can't, and who can spend a weekend and get the credit, and who can, work 3 months and get the credit. So this is kind of a way to offer some help in those areas, and they're thinking of getting rid of that, but that wouldn't be this year, that would be later on. But this is a way of adding some different ways for people to get that credit in PE without having a class in the gym for PE. And also, this is a way to add lifelong sports appreciating or lifelong well-being appreciation. Does anybody have any questions on any of these AP courses? Yes,
ahead,
Ellen.
Ellen.
Not on the AP, on the PE.
I'm
On the
sorry?
PE.
Not on the AP stuff.
She has questions on PE.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I know in the discussions that we were having, I'm concerned, and still am concerned, that whatever we're offering a PE credit for somehow has to demonstrate and meet the requirements that is needed if you took PE here, because there's an instructional part to the wellness program.
Right.
And I don't know, I haven't had a chance to read through this, but I know I don't want to approve anything unless I know as a board member that in fact, whatever the activity is going to be, these students will in fact be meeting the criteria of phys ed in a high school. I went and printed off, I left it at home, no, I got it here, the PE standards and what they're looking to achieve and all that for high school. I just want to make someone mention bass fishing could get your credit, and I'm sitting here going,
Well, Ellen, that's what they're trying to get rid of.
Yeah,
with
this
new
this is
plan.
exactly what we're trying to, we're
Okay.
trying to make it fair. So if you play field hockey and
Yep.
you spend 5 days a week for
Yep.
multiple hours a day for several weeks, that's a lot of time. Whereas bass fishing, as an example, is an NHI AA sport, and there are 2 tournaments that you would typically satisfy and be a bass fisherman participant. And so that's typically a day. So it just doesn't seem equitable that your more traditional athletics are putting a lot of time into training and practice, and some of them you're not. So bowling,
I
for
think we're
example,
saying the
doesn't
same
have the
kind of
same
thing.
amount of time. So I don't mean to overstep.
No,
Wendy
that's
has-
fine.
wants to
Yeah,
add
but
to that.
we're looking at a couple of other options. I think that there's another pathway that we've asked the high school to explore a little more, that kids would still be able to potentially get the credits, but that there's a log that shows, so if you're in football or field hockey or soccer, you're going to very easily be able to accumulate whatever number of hours. Whereas for bass fishing or for bowling, it may take you 2 years. So I think we can think about other options.
Right.
And one of the things that I think was discussed at CNE was, we don't want to send kids to the VLAX program to have to do that. We want to figure out a way to do that ourselves. So it's not fair to a parent to say, oh, if you want to have an alternative pathway to get your half credit for phys ed, you can enroll in VLAX. I don't want to do that. I want to keep them enrolled. They stay right here. We'll figure out how to do that.
but they'll also have the classroom part of the wellness
Absolutely.
that is required to be met, as well as the physical education part of it, as meets the standards stated in our curriculum.
Right.
And that was my only concern, and I mentioned at the meeting, that we make sure that whatever's approved for this, that it meets those standards.
Right.
Ellen, we
Wendy's
did
been-
have a conversation about that half credit and what Mr. Bulkey was just talking about. What we had asked is for the high school to come back in January when they bring their handbook and bring us something that more talks about what that standard and what that log will look like.
Right.
I think Mr. Bulkey's point is a good one. We don't want to just send our students and say, hey, you should go to VLAX and participate in phys ed in order to get credits for things. We want to be able to offer them here at Goffstown High School. So that was a discussion piece, but that was not one of the courses that CNE had approved. They didn't look to make that change when we met
Right.
last week. So I just
It
wanted
was
to be clear about
just a
that.
discussion.
It was the net games, the walking for wellness, the integrated PE. Those were the 3 courses that CNE approved. But we did have a very lengthy discussion about that half credit, as Ellen was talking about, and the high school will come back to us in January with more information about that.
But the courses that we would like, that we're proposing right now are the net games. And you all got the information on the net games. And the integrated well-being and fitness and the walking for wellness. Any questions about any of those?
Just a point that regarding not being able to get credit for participating in a sports. They're not going to phase that out. It will, I believe, be the incoming freshman next
Where it'll
year
start.
will not be able to do it. So anyone that is already this year that had perhaps already participated in a sport, we will allow them to carry that forward.
Because it'll affect their graduation issues, so it's
Right.
not gonna start, this is just like a discussion, ongoing discussion for all of that.
So you need from the board tonight to approve these 3
Yes.
to start
Well,
when?
And the economics and the geography.
This
Can-
will
can we
be
segregate
on
those?
the,
Yeah, we're gonna
AP
separate.
and the
So
PE.
when will these
These-
3?
these
physical
will
thing.
be offered in next year's course
So next
selection
year,
book.
not this year? Okay,
Not, right, not this year.
okay.
These are not new to.
Yeah, we have to buy
They're gonna
books,
be
so we have to
budgeted for it.
budget
Yeah.
for materials for these,
Right.
for
Okay.
at least the two APs.
And
Well, the
they,
APs we're gonna do separate.
they will be budgeted
We're gonna
for
do the
when they do
gym
their.
stuff first. Okay. Dan?
So on the 3 phys eds, I would commend that this seems like a nice alternative to the standard, get your gym shorts on and do something you can't do.
Absolutely.
They look like a great, because you need that half credit anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
An
So have fun
alternative,
with
I
it.
think it's fantastic. I would
Yeah.
support those 3.
So why don't we, if you're okay, Jenny,
May I just have
we're
one more
gonna
statement?
do 2 motions. First do the PE stuff, and then you can talk about the AP stuff.
One of the good thing about this is this is good for students that don't want to be in a competitive sport.
Yeah.
So this kind of is something for them to do that don't want to play a sport that's competitive, just play something that's fun or be active without
And then
having
don't do
to
ping
play
pong.
a sport and get a
It can
credit.
get competitive.
Go ahead, Shane.
I'll
I
tell
just have
you.
a comment that this model of having phys ed classes that are a little bit different outside of the box is one that is used in a lot of different school districts. So I think this is
Right.
probably it's about time for this. So yeah.
All right, so if there's no other discussion or questions, comments, I'll entertain if someone wants to do a motion.
You want me to read it?
Sure, go ahead.
I move that the board approve the CD's recommendation of 3 PE courses be added: integrated well-being and fitness, walking for wellness, and net games to the
Great.
high school program.
Thank you, Alan. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
By Shane? All right, any further discussion? Jenny?
No.
Oh. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining? All right, we're unanimous. All right, so go on with the AP.
I still have more,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah, I know.
A highlight of our summer professional development was discussed also. At the elementary level, teachers worked with web-based version of our Second Step program, which supports our students with social emotional learning. Bartlett School and Mountain View worked with Howard Muscott, a local PBIS consultant, to recalibrate and reinvigorate our PBIS programming, including and looking at Tier 2 interventions. Mountain View worked to continue to address their NES&C priority areas as detailed in their last report. The middle school and high school counselors, as well as the school psychologists, participated in training for signs of suicide. At GHS, the World Language Department looked at the scope and sequence in their upper-level Spanish courses to adapt to student needs. The French teacher planned for teaching new course due to a retirement of another French teacher that was not replaced. GHS and MS algebra teachers also met to discuss vertical alignment of programming. Social studies teachers at GHS met to complete the work necessary to meet the new standards for graduation in the area of civics. Teachers put into place a process for administrating the required citizenship test. Teachers participated in Schoology training at all levels. In November, Steve Bourget presented technology update, and Christina Lamson presented the use of Schoology. And I believe that we also have to okay the other,
Yeah, the AP classes.
the AP classes tonight. And the first one we have is AP Microeconomics. The second one we have is AP Geography. And
It's the two.
that is it.
Does anybody have any questions or comments? Go ahead, Dan.
I read AP Human Geography.
Yes.
Confusing as all heck.
Yep.
I'm not in education. I have no idea what this means, and it.
Wendy, do you want
It
to?
doesn't smell pretty yet.
No.
Wendy, Ginny, what do you?
Sure. It's a survey course that looks at the combination of world history, world geography, and cultures. So it's a more overarching look and survey for an AP course.
And I believe the College Board created the name.
They did.
We did not
We did not
create the
create the
name.
name.
Because there is, as far as I'm
Yeah.
concerned, human geography,
It
Is-
yes.
there is no geography of humans. And there is no geography without humans, so I'm
Yes.
not,
We did not
I get
invent
the
the name.
confusingness of it.
It's pretty much world history.
Okay, I
Go
still
ahead.
don't understand what it's meant to do. If we were to name it, what would we call it?
But we
Social
can't rename
studies.
it.
We can't because
This
it's
is
If,
a
if,
college
but
board.
if we were, it would probably be something along the lines of World Geography Overview
And culture.
or Survey,
Or survey.
something
And culture.
like
yes.
that.
Retta, go ahead. You want to add to that?
Yeah, I think something that we discussed in the committee meeting that is really important to understand is that this is replacing the AP World History, which was the only AP course that was offered to freshmen, which was not hugely popular. It wasn't, for a first class for a freshman coming in, that this the human geography, or whatever we want to call it, it includes a lot of things that are probably more at the level of a freshman, because this is the only course they can take when they come in. So.
You still look perplexed.
I am very perplexed. If you had me vote right now, I'd say no. This has not convinced me. I can understand microeconomics. I can understand macroeconomics, only because I had to endure it when I was in college. I still don't get what this is.
World history and world geography.
That's not what it seems. That's not what I'm getting a feeling it is.
Wendy, do you
Dan,
wanna-
would you like me to read on the form that's in your packet? I'm happy to read the purpose, so I can just-
I've read the purpose
Okay.
several, and even one more time after that.
Okay.
I'll read it. Students cultivate their understanding of human geography, again, we're using the same word, through data and geographic analyses as they explore topics like patterns in spatial organization, human impacts and interactions with their environment, and spatial processes and societal changes. To me, there's no facts here at all. It's all up to anybody's opinion as to what they want to do, and that's what I think bothers me the most.
Dan, I'm under the impression from our conversation at C&E that it's looking at kind of those social sciences and its impact on history, social and political things as well. That's the impression that I got from our conversation.
That's the piece that bothers me.
Okay.
Because right now, there's so much revisional history going on. This reminds me of what that is.
Yep.
And there's, unless I can see something, look at a textbook, understand it, it's, I don't know, it's not passing my,
When Kim presented this, there is a textbook that, the reason that we need to bring this forward is because it will become a budgetary issue because
Sure.
it's all new textbooks. So I'm assuming that the textbook information is available for us to look further.
So Dan, from their presentation from the high school, they said there's 3 to 5 textbooks that the College Board recommends and that we would choose from there. And obviously that textbook would go to C&E for approval as well.
Yeah.
It comes to the full board.
Yes,
C&E
but
doesn't
it will start
approve.
with C&E as well, Ellen.
Right,
Oh,
and then
absolutely.
come to us.
Yes.
Wendy, I wonder if it would be helpful if we could try to get like a sample syllabus
Right,
from
that's
a New Hampshire high school that's already teaching this course. That might
Absolutely.
help.
Yep.
Is there a way of being able to have something like that for the next meeting and then be able to vote? Like, when do you need us to make a decision on
I'll
this?
see if, well, it's going to be a budget item, so.
Right.
We would need it for budget planning for Kim for the high school.
I have some information from Mrs. McCann. She just let me know that the full scope and sequence of the course is available at the AP, is available online through AP. And she said the full curriculum was provided with the original initial documentation, so that might have been presented.
It says attached curriculum overview, and they probably did, but
Yeah, I think they may have had it at the committee level, but maybe not now.
could you email us the link? At some
If I
point?
can put my hands on it, yeah, absolutely.
Well,
And-
to-
Or
Or Mrs.
tomorrow's fine,
McCann
too,
probably
because-
can, yeah, absolutely.
We also have all of the documentation that I'd be happy to get, that Mrs. McCann did give us, that I can bring to the entire board as well.
So is this something for
I
this?
can read
we
it
wait
right
till the
now if
next-
it's helpful.
I think that Dan's looking for, there's a lot more documentation
Right.
rather
Okay.
than just the course approval form, and I can bring that to the next board meeting.
So can we wait to the next board meeting to vote on this particular course?
Yeah, if it's budget related, we certainly can. We can go all the way to the end of October.
I just want to make sure that everybody's okay with that. Ellen?
Yeah, I was at that meeting, and I understood it was world history and world geography. And what
What it's.
it says here, I'm with Dan. I'm concerned about it, and I would not be approving it as
So-
of this point in time.
If we can get some more information sent to
Yep.
board members sometime this week, and then put it back on the agenda.
That's
for the
fine.
next
I
meeting.
would just add and share, these are existing courses. We don't make them up. So this is an existing course through kind of the AP program, but we're happy to bring more materials.
At least for that one. Is everybody good on the AP economics, microeconomics, at least to maybe move that one forward? Oh, Jared, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to state, for Dan's concern, I was actually reading the minutes. Some of the conversation, I think, is contained in the minutes as
Yep.
well.
Yep.
Just for our knowledge.
I
Yep.
will try to take some time and read those as well.
Yeah.
That's going to start coming to all board members on policy and C&E. You all get our minutes ahead of time so that
They did
kind of
today.
know.
And they're
Yeah,
going to
so
be more robust.
you got more
starting in
stuff to
November.
read. Yeah. So, all right, so we're going to
I need to get them days in advance.
put the human geography on hold to the next board meeting, get some more information. If you have any questions, you can send emails to Wendy and Ginny.
Okay.
Does that work?
Do we want to do the other one?
So let's do the other one, the AP Economics. Anybody have any questions? If not, we can entertain a
I'll
motion on
move
that one.
that we approve AP economics. It's microeconomics.
All right, I have a motion by Ellen. Do I have a second? By Shane. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, we're unanimous.
Kim did send me a note too. There was a question of, are we getting top-heavy with adding a lot of AP classes and not considering the middle kids? And so she sent me this info to share with people to decrease that concern. And we have sorry, that's not the anyway, we have 217 AP classes of regular class offerings. We have 15 AP classes. And 5 of those the 5 that we're adding, only 5, jeez, I am,
5 AP?
sorry, Kim.
2, 5 classes.
She said 5, right?
Yeah, I see.
And,
3 PE.
they're elective, the ones that we,
Do you know, Wendy?
I don't have.
most of the AP classes are filling requirements either for, the requirements that you need for a class, be it history,
Math.
foreign language, or it's a requirement for graduation. So most of the AP are requirements. 5 of them are electives.
Okay.
So it's not top-heavy with AP classes, so that we're just, you know, giving courses to the top.
Yep.
Only 5 of them are.
AP classes are requirements?
Well, no, kids that if you have
They
a
meet
science,
graduation
you
requirements.
need so many science
But
classes.
you don't have to have an AP course to graduate.
No.
You don't,
No,
but
no,
those
no, no.
AP courses meet the graduation requirement.
Right,
Like, you need so many
Right.
sciences for,
right.
and so where you start. So that's the meaning of it.
Go ahead, Ellen.
Along those lines, and I'll end with that, I am becoming more and more concerned, and just information maybe at another CNE meeting to bring forward. What is it, if there's anything more, that we should be doing for children who are not the AP kids and are not the kids going to the tech center? What's it called?
Manchester School of Technology.
MST?
What about the rest of these kids? Are we offering enough for them to prepare them for after graduation? Not everybody's going to go to college. Not there's got to be a pile of them in the school that, not everybody goes to MST. No, but what are we preparing these kids for when they graduate if they're not an AP or college-bound child?
College and career.
And there's some information maybe we can gather. We used to get a lot more high school student profile kind of information a few years back, just to make sure that we are meeting the needs of all kids. That's just a statement I'll make, and hopefully we can follow up as we move forward with budgets and programming and stuff.
Do you want to add anything to that, Brian?
Nope. Thank you.
All right, so C&E, we're good? Okay, all right. SAU 19 policy meeting, we're not sure if we're meeting in October. We'll get back to you, right, Denise? We're still figuring that out. But the SAU 19 board meeting is tentative. Is that also tentative for October 14th?
That's a Friday. Should be the 13th?
Should be the 13th.
So
Okay.
10:13.
10:13, and that's the SAU full board? And we're doing that at 6 o'clock at the SAU?
October 14th.
13th. Don't
So-
show up on Friday.
I would just remind the board that I will not be available that day.
Okay.
I'm out that entire week.
Okay,
So I
And
think,
it's a very busy month.
it is. So I think that's why it's
Oh, boy.
tentative.
Okay.
We'll have to figure out that. All right, so we're done with committees. Superintendent's report, or what? Sorry, Denise.
Yeah, New Boston was asked the same question for October 13th, and they were all set with it, so.
So we should go ahead and do it. Yeah, because we have to
a
meet,
date.
we only meet a couple times, October and then December. All right, so we should really meet the 13th,
Is
so.
that going to be our budget meeting? The SAU budget meeting in October?
it'll be the
The first one?
Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. And then
Yeah.
you'll see it again in December.
in December.
Yep.
So we should, so October 13th, so let me know if anybody can't make it, 6 o'clock at the SAU. Okay. All right, thanks Denise. All right, go ahead, Brian.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gross already mentioned, I'll go quickly. Mr. Gross already mentioned the sign. I wanted to let you know that the ED 306, which are called the minimum standards, are being redone, and there's a committee that has been working on those. I would like to request the department is doing, and the committee is doing a listening session where they're taking community input on the minimum standards. I would like to ask them to bring that process to Goffstown, so unless there's any objection, I will reach out and try to get them to schedule a date to come and do the presentation of what's contained in the new revised minimum standards. Those are rules, so the process would be that they would go through the rule-making process, which includes going through the State Board of Ed, as well as the Joint Legislative Committee on Administrative Rules. We're not quite to that point yet, but we would like to host one of those ED 306 meetings, so I'll work on that. Our new mentor program and induction program are up and running. Mrs. Kohler's been doing a great job on that. We have launched our Schoology for parents. We sent out a letter with all of the login information last week, and to date we have almost 600 families that have already signed up, so we're really excited about that, and we continue to work with those families to make sure that they can get up and running. There is a new portal that the Department of Ed, which, by the way, I should say that the Department of Ed, the DOE, is no longer. They're now the New Hampshire Education Department. So we're all being asked to call it NED instead of DOE. So, or the Education Department. So just, if you hear me say NED, that is NHED. I don't make the acronyms. So
And what's NED stand for?
New Hampshire Education Department. So the DOE, oh, I just did it again, didn't I? It's a long time. That's going to take me some time to break this one.
It's always going to be home ec for me, so.
There is a new portal for the state assessment system that parents are able to sign up for. We are not going to send that information out to parents now. We think it would only confuse people. We provided all the results already, so families have their SAS testing for their students. We will send that out in the spring, so any family that wants to can create an online account and you can see your kids' information. We think that at this point, that would probably just confuse people at this point. We gave the results already, so at this point, and it's not mandatory. So we think that this is a good thing for families, but we think let's give it to them right before the new results come out and not give it to them now. We think that that's probably too much. We are exploring, and I've had some ongoing conversations with Mr. McBride and the administrative team at the high school. Mr. McBride is proposing to move to a single lunch instead of the 2-lunch model. So Mr. McBride and I are doing some horse trading over that. We'll have some final thoughts and recommendations, but I wanted you to know that we're working on this. We have a fire panel issue. When I mentioned...
Dan,
Can we, sorry.
yeah, rewind a
When
little.
it comes to food, has Megan been?
She has.
She's in the mix.
She is.
'Cause
So
that's double the
Triple,
throughput.
that's all 4 grades eating
That's-
at the same time.
Yep.
Where do they all sit and
Yep,
go?
so,
Still figuring
just,
that all out?
just hold on, everybody. I mean,
Okay.
you're asking all the same questions I'm asking.
Yep, okay,
So
good.
you're right there with me.
Good.
And I don't want to get Lily too excited yet.
What? I mean, it's gonna be like it's crazy.
No,
don't even
it's,
sound plausible.
there's a lot of logic to it.
Yeah, it would
And
be
there
helpful.
will be less disruption in many ways. So there's, I'm not sold on it yet, but they have a very good argument, and they've put together a thoughtful proposal that we're working our way through. So
That'll come to us.
Yeah, we'll,
First.
I'm not
Okay.
there yet, but we're getting closer.
Perfect.
We've had some ongoing issues with our Goffstown High School fire panel. So when I made a comment when we were approving the manifest, we don't have a price yet. We're expecting a price this week, but we have an old panel that has proprietary software that doesn't communicate with some of the features of our panel, so we have some work to do. And I will just warn you, fire panels are expensive. There's nothing inexpensive about a fire panel, and then when you put a new panel in, you have to painstakingly reattach everything back connected to it, so there's a lot of labor involved, but we're working on that. The Maple Ave traffic ordinance, I would say, at least from the objectives that the police department identified, appears to be working really well at Maple Ave. They wanted to get rid of the live parking queue on Elm Street, and that has happened. There are no more cars live parking on Elm Street at the end of the day. So from a safety perspective, they have achieved that. Mrs. Pishka, I believe, thinks that people are still adjusting to it. We had some concerns whether staff would get bottlenecked coming to work. People are working their way through. So overall, I think it has been a positive thing. We held our parent information session 2 weeks ago at this point for signs of suicide. Mrs. Kohler had a presentation that was done by 2 of our school counselors, and we had a number of parents that attended that, and it was also recorded and shared so people could watch it on demand. We also did our staff training for all of our Goffstown teachers last week. New Boston will be doing a slightly different model. Their training will be online. Ours was in person last week on voting day. So the Schoology for parents will continue to roll that out, but like I said, I'm very excited. We've got almost 600 people identified. We are having an issue with the Glen Lake boiler, so I wanted to let you know at Glen Lake School we have 2 boilers. One of them is having a leaking issue, that's the outside casing, and we're having difficulty getting parts. We're having difficulty figuring out exactly what needs to be done with that. There's no ability to heat the building concerns at this point, but there is what I anticipate to be a likely costly boiler repair. So I just wanted to give everyone a heads up that we're working on that. I don't know, Scott, if you had shared that already.
Did you say we had 2 boilers over there?
Yes.
One's working?
One's fine, and one's apparently having some kind of a
Is it
leaking.
a backup boiler?
No, they're both 2 primaries.
And, okay, so.
I've got this right, Scott?
Yes.
And I think the new addition is all electric or?
The new addition is all electric, so that's completely self-contained. This would be for just heating the original part of the boiler.
Or part of it, yeah.
And Scott, can you, it's a pressure issue that the casing
It's the gasket.
is leaking.
Right, the gasket's leaking.
Okay.
So, and with, there are a lot of challenges around getting parts right now. So parts for this boiler have been problematic.
Well, I did see a commercial about Flex Seal.
If maybe we could spray the large pumpkin before the regatta, that might help with the Flex Seal. But so we'll keep working through that. We also had some issues with our new point-of-sales system that's called Titan, which is how kids pay for meals. I think we've largely worked through that. Mrs. Bizzarro has been working very closely with Laura Taylor, and I think at this point we've got the majority of the issues, but if anyone had heard that there were some billing issues with Titan, that is true, and we were having some challenges. We are working with the town to do mosquito spraying. If you haven't heard or seen, the Manchester Health Department has put out a number of press releases. There have been a lot of hot testing pools that they've done in Hillsborough County for West Nile, so we will be spraying the fields. We're working with the town. The town is also going to be spraying their fields as well, so we wanted to let you know that's happening. And we will work through the process. You have to do applications, you have to provide notification of when the sprayings, but we've done this a number of times in the past. I want to remind people that they should get the bus app. If you have students who ride the bus, there's an app that you can track when the bus should be picking your kid up, so I would again encourage people. And please make sure that you're signed up for notifications. When we have bus-related issues, I almost always send those notifications out as a text message, as an SMS message. So I would encourage everyone to make sure that they're signed up for the notifications through PowerSchool. Here's a good one. You're going to like this one. So every year, for the last several years, Mr. Bourget has applied for an IBM cybersecurity grant, national grant program. He is now one of 6 in the entire country who's being considered for a $500,000 cybersecurity project. So, holy cow, the brilliance of Mr. Bourget just continues to amaze me. You know, this is one of those things that he and Gary have just applied for these things over the years, and holy cow, he's got a shot at it now. So let's cross our fingers on that. Megan Bizzarro is being honored by the Goffstown Network as their kind of volunteer of the year, or I may not have the term right, but they do an annual award, and this year it's Megan, and well-deserved. Megan is absolutely tenacious about feeding our kids, and throughout the pandemic, making sure that everyone was fed. I couldn't be more proud of the work that she and her team just continue to do. Mrs. Kohler and I have been very busy working on our emergency operations plan. I had given the board an update previously on this, and I want to let you know that we anticipate being ready to bring this to your next meeting for approval. Okay. So we're hoping on that. The recommended changes to GAP, Mr. Gross already covered, and I've got 2 more. One is the math curriculum updates. I want to let you know that we're holding on to $400,000 in ESSER 3. We put that aside to explore replacing our everyday math program. We also think we're going to have enough money in addition to the everyday math program, should we decide to replace it, to do some changes at the middle school and high school level. Some board members who've been sitting around this table for a while might be surprised, but it's been 10 years since we brought in that math program here at the high school that we're also using at the middle school. And unfortunately, the program is no longer going to have digital tools associated with it, so we've got some decisions we're going to have to make. But the good news is the money that we've held, the $400,000 for the math program, we believe will be able to support the upper grades as well as the elementary program. And my last bit of good news is the building just continues in Goffstown, and there's a new plan for a 30-unit condominium on the Hemley property on Mast Road, map 5, lots 54 and 54-1. I would defer to Mr. Gross where this is exactly, if you know, Scott.
Near the Shell Station.
But another 30 units.
Is this adults
kidding me?
or families?
At this point, they have not given.
Three-bedroom townhouses.
Yep. But I would share
That's not a condominium.
that sometimes
That's a townhouse.
the number of bedrooms changes. So we've watched the Factory Street apartments very closely, and when that was originally proposed to now, I think there have been some changes in the number of bedrooms, so we're going to have to watch this closely. So another 30 units, and I really hope that Mrs. Pishka isn't watching, because the enrollment at Maple Ave is really high.
I
So
hope
it's
she can
been
do magic.
approved, they're able to move forward, even though our schools are, especially our younger grades, we don't have any more room.
Our elementary schools are very,
We need
very
to
full.
start figuring out a Plan B, where we're gonna put all these kids.
Yep, and the Plan B, unfortunately, is a very expensive one in an environment with no building aid.
October 24th.
Go ahead, Retta.
I just have a question around that regarding, I don't know how they get approved, and I know that we have this fund where there's the impact fee, but at what point is it the breaking point where those fees aren't enough? And it causes a problem for the entire town, the traffic, how we're gonna fit them into the school, and if the town continues, and I don't know, when I say the town, I think there's a lot of different committees, but at a certain point, how do we handle this at the school level unless the town is also willing to, we're gonna have to go for another bond if we have a need for that kind of space. And I know I'm jumping a lot here because I think it's, maybe we're not there yet, but at a certain point, but the town has to make that decision. We can't make that alone. The whole town has to make the decision.
I think Mr. Talbot's caution to hold fast until we hear the presentation is a good one. There is no good answer for a community like Goffstown. And the other piece that I would continue to share, we just put in the CIP this year for full-day kindergarten. So in addition to having elementary schools that are overcrowded, we don't have full-day kindergarten, and I not only recommend that we continue to pursue full-day kindergarten, families want full-day kindergarten. So in addition to overcrowded elementary schools, we have right now no capacity to host full-day kindergarten, even if we had the staff.
Right. Ginny, go ahead.
Are we being vocal enough as a school board in letting the town know, like, really, we have no more room in our schools, and we understand that there's no housing in Goffstown, but are these people willing to pay like huge increases in their taxes to build new schools for all these children that they're building these new houses for? Like, do you ever, like, say, okay, we really don't have any more room for these new houses, or the tax rate's going to go up really high? Like, does the town really know that we're in that position? Do we need to be more vocal about those kinds of things? Like, people really don't want to pay for kindergarten anymore, but we really can't have free kindergarten for anybody. And we really can't if we keep getting more and more children who want free kindergarten. in the town. So like, do they realize this? Like, have we gotten the message out loud enough so that people know that the position that we're in, and as new developments come in, yes, it's nice that we have more housing, but do they realize the problems that they're going to get into because of it?
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't want to speak for the planning board. Mr. Gross, do you have any insight, whether it's part of their kind of ongoing discussion? So a project like this gets proposed, I would hope that somebody on the committee would say, geez, would there be an impact to the school district?
Yeah, based upon prior experience, it doesn't matter per se, because the developer, the landowner, as long as they are complying with the zoning ordinance, they have a right to develop their property any way they see fit, as long as it complies with zoning. Whether or not there is space at a school is not the developer's concern, and in my opinion, it is something that the town could be in legal jeopardy if they denied it simply on those grounds, because it's not the developer's concern that there's no room. Secondly, if a developer would say, hey, we have to pay X thousands in an impact fee, that's your problem, not mine. So as long as they follow the zoning ordinances and the plan for the town, I think it's very difficult for a planning board or a zoning board to say no. Also recognize that when issues go before a zoning board and they seek a variance, I think that there was one recently where the zoning board of adjustment declined a variance on a project. The developer took the town to court and lost. And so the court overruled the zone. So in that particular case, the zoning.
Hold on, who lost?
The
town lost?
The town lost the appeal.
Okay.
So the developer prevailed, and they got the variance. So these are the types of things that happen. So even when planning board and zoning boards of adjustment take some of these things into consideration and they rule a certain way, sometimes these things go to court and then you lose in court. So it's not as easy as you think it is.
And I guess I would say certainly our town administrator, Mr. Horn, knows the challenges that we have, and Derek is a good partner to us, so I'm sure he does a good job of telling people, but I hear what Scott's saying.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Ellen.
I think it's also very important. The zoning doesn't just come out of thin air. We, the people of Goffstown, have voted in the zoning we have.
Right.
And our zoning allows, apparently, residential development in prime commercial land. Flex, or whatever, they have different terminology.
Yeah.
We voted those laws in for ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's what our zoning board and our planning board have to go by.
Right.
I just think it's time, just my own personal opinion, Goffstown better wake up by what is going on with the development in our town.
It's New Boston, too.
It's all around us, because we're a funnel town.
Well, we're going to get it here in Goffstown doubly,
they'll come
because you
here.
have your Goffstown kids, but you also have
New Boston.
an awful lot of building and potential building happening in New Boston. New Boston has over 200 approved building lots in the queue.
For single-family homes?
Yep. Now, they've been approved for years. They haven't been built, but they're going to be.
They're there. People need to understand that our boards, planning board and the zoning board, have to comply with what we voted in
Right.
as our zoning laws.
Yeah.
And that's what we're at, and people need to wake up.
Well, it'll
Because
be interesting to hear what Jared's committee comes up with on the 24th. So do you have more?
That was all I had, thank you.
So, just a quick question,
You're in
going
the hot
back to
seat.
the fire panel, is there any grants for
No.
helping with that, since it's fire apparatus?
So the only grants that we have right now are through that, for school safety.
Okay.
And
That's not part
we've
of it.
already submitted,
Okay.
so I don't think that, we can, not that I know of, if there were, we'll chase it.
Right.
Yeah, if there's any potential for grant money, it's just that fire panel will be expensive.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yep.
All right, Ellen, you had
Real
something?
quick, the bus app, we recommend parents get on, is it working now? It's
Yes.
completely, okay.
Yep.
And what about the lunch?
Titan.
I don't know what you call it, but
Titan.
parents can pay for their lunches. Is that fully functional?
So that is up and running. Actually, that's Laura Taylor, I think, did that last week, maybe, Scott?
Yeah,
That she
she
got
did.
the information, and that's been sent out.
Sent out to parents
For
that
parents
it's
that want to
working.
pay online, there is a small fee associated with that.
Right,
We
yeah.
don't collect the fee, it's
Yeah,
the
saw
bank.
that. Right.
But yes, that should
Okay.
be all up and operational
Those are
at
the
this
two
point.
things I've heard from parents
Yep.
saying things to me about.
Yeah, and we had some issues. It's a new platform for us, and we had some things we had to work out with the vendor, and I think at this point, I think we've gotten them resolved.
Right, and also for the community, it's not like we wanted to not use the previous vendor. They didn't comply with student data privacy protection. They wouldn't sign off on the agreement, not only for Goffstown, but nowhere in the state.
So we left them.
Every single school district that used the prior vendor had to find another one because they didn't sign off on the data privacy agreement. It's not just Goffstown, every one of them got rid of it.
All right, so we set with superintendent's report?
We are, thank you.
Okay, so old business, mission and vision statement. That's
Yes.
you. And we
Thank
have a
you.
draft in our,
Yes.
in our,
And keep in mind that you have two copies. One is the school district mission, vision, and guiding principles that was approved on April 17th. So we're not discussing that, that's just for
Right.
reference. But the draft of the school board mission and guiding principles, this is the third time that it's coming to the board. We talked about it last at the retreat, and it was brought to the August meeting. And I asked for any feedback. I got no feedback on this. So this is the draft that is being brought forward. And just as a reminder, according to policy AD, that the school board needs to review this annually. So we will look at it each year. I think at the retreat is a fine time to be
Yeah.
doing that.
all right.
So,
this-
Heather?
Yes, go ahead, Dan,
So,
sorry.
as I mentioned to A&F, I didn't get a chance to really go through it. I've gone through it quickly. I have notes. It's not fair to you. If you wanted to hash it through tonight and we wanted to do that, I'm prepared, but I don't know, and there's a lot. I have quite a bit, but I didn't know if we want to yet again put it, and I will commit to sending you all my inquiries, or we can do whatever you want. Whatever you want to do. I got plenty on here.
Yeah. And just so you know, this is what has been in the handbooks for many, many years. So there's very little that was added to it. I think items 9 and 10 were added to it. And the titles, so with each bulleted item, it was just, we added the title and then the guiding principle, but everything else,
Came out of the handbook.
right.
I have to confess, I don't think I've ever read the handbook.
Exactly, we've been working under this since I've been on the board,
it's
and,
been a long
I think
time.
one of the things is, we took it out of the handbooks because it was inconsistent in all of the handbooks. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay,
This year we took it out.
we took it
Yeah.
out of the handbooks. We didn't want it in the handbooks anymore
Okay.
because they were inconsistent in all of the
Right.
schools. And really, that's probably not the best place for it.
I think the website would be a great place for it.
Well,
too.
it's, the district
Mission.
mission and vision is already up there. So that's already been up there, and it's just the.
Yeah,
the
I missed that meeting.
I'll send you mine too.
Yeah. So we're,
So-
again, this
Go
is the
ahead.
third time
Yeah.
that you've had
Third
an
or fourth?
opportunity to look at it.
We're going for a record here.
Okay. We are voting on it. I think what we decided, and what I had said in the August meeting, is that I would bring it, back to the board at this meeting, and then we're going to vote on it. I'd rather not be hashing this out because, in a meeting, because
It'll take a lot of time.
the hope was to do it at the retreat when we had more time. And again, I just want to emphasize that we should be looking at this every year anyways, and if we need to make changes, we can make it along the way, but it was mainly to get them out of the handbooks. So, I'm happy with that. PNC will be meeting on November 7th, and that's when we would be voting on it. So I really need the feedback so the committee can look at it and hash it out ahead of time, hopefully, making smooth
So you would do
sailing.
that at your November 7th meeting?
Yes. Yeah, we're not meeting in October, so. But it's your last chance, Dan.
So,
Because all of our meetings are going to be too long afterwards.
Yeah.
so you need any feedback sent to you now for you to go through it at the November 7th?
Yeah,
Or at least have it,
right. So I don't.
a little bit before, like a week before?
I would recommend that you, if you have any feedback, that you do it within the next week,
Okay.
because you're going to be so bogged down with the budget, and
Yeah.
that will give our committee more time to look at, what the feedback is, and have to be more prepared for November 7th.
And if you have no feedback because you're happy with it, then don't send anything. Go ahead, Dan.
So I would suggest, because we are, only send it to you so that we're not doing a
Right.
meeting outside of a meeting. Are you able to put whatever we suggest to you together and present it back to us at the next full board meeting? Because I'm, just so that we're all kept updated on what's happening, so that, because once you do it at your November 7th, it's going to have to come back to us anyway.
Right.
And so rather not get surprised.
So would you, what I would be happy to do if I get any feedback is I just put it into the, any feedback I can incorporate into the draft and just
Okay.
have Denise send it out. We're not going to discuss it in October because we have the budget, but
Okay.
that way you get a chance to see everybody's feedback.
Okay.
I can do that.
That's fair.
Yep,
And then November 7th, PNC is going to talk about it.
right.
And then you're going to bring it to the full board, and we're voting November 7th, right?
Yeah, then we'll have,
Okay.
yeah, hopefully,
So-
see
Well,
less hashing out.
we can vote, but we can also amend. That's what this
Yes.
committee
Yeah.
does.
Yes, but that'll be
Yes.
the final time.
I just
Right,
don't want
you
to
don't
see this.
Get pushed again until December.
Understand. It's a
All right.
frustrating,
Everybody
but
good
this
with
is
that? Any
also an
questions on
important
that?
piece that has finally come to light.
All right, so the next one is the turnaround update, which we've already done, right, Scott? There's nothing,
That's correct.
Well, did we talk, you already talked about going out in January and February with
Yeah.
another bid?
Yeah.
yeah. All right, so the next is new business, so we have some policy. So in the top of your packet, you'll see our minutes. This was something that used to be done many, many years ago, and it was recommended by a board member to bring it back. I think it's a great idea, so you guys can see what we've discussed. The minutes have not been approved, they're just drafts, but you kind of get an idea of what we talked about. So you'll see we were very busy with policy. The only policy that I do want to change a little bit is BEDH. I would like to make reference to policy BEDB, because it also goes through the public comment. and
BEDE, did you say?
BEDB.
On the blue, on your, this thing here.
So you're going to
It's
have
up on here.
policy BEDH, which is public participation at board meetings. We have another policy that also talks about public comment, and I would just like that referenced, which is BEDB.
Different ones?
Yeah, and I didn't realize, I forgot about it when we had policy last week, so that's the only change. But this will come back at the next meeting for any questions. You have a sheet that tells you what was changed. A lot of stuff was just law and changing of language and stuff, so. So do you
So-
get that?
The thought process, because I wasn't at this particular meeting,
Right,
just for curiosity, was if you want to make a public comment and it seems that it might be a very busy time, you better be up first. Because after 10 people, perhaps, it gets cut off.
yes, so the new law,
There's a law?
it's a law, which is why we had to change it. So 3 minutes per person and no less than
Oh, good
30
golly.
minutes in total. So if there's a ton of people here for public comment, I have to keep it open for 30 minutes. And at 30 minutes,
Yes.
I can close it.
We can, but we're not told we have to.
Correct.
Well, that's what I was saying.
Oh,
So,
yeah,
but this-
no, I thought you were
this-
asking about the
no,
30 minutes.
This says, our policy says it's, I read it, maybe I read it too quick, that it's over after 30 minutes.
No.
You're done.
No,
It says will be, oh, maybe this is
No
what got
less-
me. No
less
less
than
than
30
30 minutes in
minutes.
total. Or when
Right.
there are no further comments, whichever comes first.
right.
Okay, I'm still gonna have to play around that in my mind. I know it's correct when we use the double and the reverse negatives.
Yeah. So you
which
had to
is-
leave it open for at least 30 minutes. I think if there was
That's
just
the
like a
purpose of
couple
it.
more people
Okay.
here that needed to speak.
Right, because
know.
I wanted to make sure everyone has an opportunity to
Absolutely.
speak and we don't cut them off.
Right.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
this board has never,
And we've never
No,
had
we
that.
never have, and I
You
was
know, but-
hoping that we weren't gonna go there.
But I
so-
think if we ever had that situation, we would have to see if everybody's saying the same thing.
We can
Type,
ask them
you know,
to.
it's all by discretion.
Anything new?
I mean,
Yeah.
everybody, you
Right.
get your point across, and I
Yeah.
think that's the important part.
But we
wanna
also
know
have to be
that.
able to do our
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
business and not
Okay.
have 2 hours of public comment.
Yeah, that's
so
a
that's-
long meeting.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that
But-
red is, we had to put it in.
Okay, thank you.
So, Ellen?
Just real quick.
Yeah.
This thing, it says we approved it. I don't remember it.
When?
Mission, vision, guide, wait a minute.
It's
We're done with
proposed-
mission.
One's for the board, one's for this.
The school district. The
District.
school
Are you on
district
po-
one,
we're
we
on
already
policy.
agreed. When does that come back?
Annually.
Annually? It does come back?
So
Okay.
we're talking
What
about.
are we
policy.
talking about?
Yeah, you're
Okay, go
jumping
ahead.
back to old stuff.
Go ahead.
I'm confused.
Me too.
So,
Welcome to my brain.
the mission, we're not discussing until November. And then, once it's approved, it'll come back annually, and we thought about June at our retreat. So this is first
Acknowledged.
read policies, which that is not in here.
Okay, no problem.
All right, so if you have any questions, it'll come back at the next meeting.
Boy, is this a lot.
Yeah, we were very busy that night.
That's because Dan wasn't there, just making it clear. Thank you for attending, Retta.
Yes, Retta
You're
filled in.
welcome.
All right, so request for CRF
we already
disbursement,
did.
we already did that. And we already did the board authorization, right? Oh, yes.
Just because you're
Jared.
moving on,
Yeah.
I had a question of policy.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was looking at GBEA, which is really the ethics for employee conflict of interest.
Which one?
GBEA.
Gabia.
Yep.
Just looking at this, you know, we're saying do the right thing. I'm paraphrasing.
Yep.
But is this supposed to be in all matters or only in matters as part of their employment? So when I look at the adoption, if I go back to the beginning of it, district employees will adhere to standards enunciated in this policy in the decision-making process involving their interactions with students, the school community, colleagues, parents, and the public. Is that in relation to their job, or is that in relation to them doing that 24/7?
it's both.
It's, yeah.
It's both. And actually, if you look at the first sentence,
Yeah, that was gonna go there.
all employees of the district are expected to maintain high standards in their conduct both
On and
on
off.
and off duty.
And this was recommended revisions also by Kate. She went through all of this and all the purple.
Yeah, I think there's
was
an
added.
ed, well, I don't know, is it gonna be an ed rule, or is it gonna be a
Ned?
Ned? Or
A Ned rule. A Ned rule.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of this stuff was brought down to us.
Is it a recommendation from NHSBA?
Yeah.
Which doesn't necessarily mean we have to take it, but.
No,
Okay.
but, yeah. Were you good with that,
No,
Jared?
I'm good. I need to ponder it a little bit more.
That's fine.
Yeah, and a lot of these, if you notice, we've been working very hard to make every pupil a student
Yep.
and make every his or her to their.
Yep.
So a lot of those are that.
There's some of that, yeah,
It's
we did
little.
discuss
Yeah.
that we are making changes that are grammatically correct. so that we're not spending time on changing little things. We want to focus on the context of the policy.
Okay.
All right, so are we good then with policy stuff? Okay. So board authorization we did. So we did confirm October 13th for the SAU. Is everybody good? I know that's back on here. All right, so I'm going to take that as a yes. So,
Did you jump to D already?
yeah, because we already did C.
We did C.
So
Did we do
D, we already kind of did D. That was at the beginning.
Or the B, the CRF disbursement is the one we moved from
Yep.
that to here? Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Yeah, we somehow did stuff sooner.
Yeah, well, you know what? I
'cause-
thought we had a short agenda. I forgot there was phase 2.
A and F. All right, so school
Surprise,
staffing.
surprise.
So for notification only, we have a leave of absence for Mrs. Belter, who will be out until early November. For your approval, we have a list here. I'd rather prefer not to read all of these, but these are co-curricular and non-sports nominations. And out of this list, there's only one that's new, which is Kathy Osgood, who's a teacher here at the high school as a partial strength and conditioning coach. But everyone else, these are all returning advisors.
I move that we approve the co-curricular, non-sports nominations, 22-23,
All right.
as presented.
I have a motion by Ellen. Do I have a second? By Shane. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all
I
those in
have a
favor? Oh,
question.
yes. Ms. Mayor?
That's a surprise look on her
Um,
face.
Yes, she looks confused.
I thought Ginny Sinclair
Yeah.
retired.
She's helping.
That's the same question.
Ginny
Yeah, no,
Sinclair
she's
did
back.
retire. However, she's working part-time. She's teaching 2 classes at Mountain View to reduce the numbers of our advanced 7th grade math program.
Yeah.
So we, the board
Approved that.
approved.
Okay, so I'm
Yeah,
not
I
crazy.
think it's actually considered .4, so she's less than half-time. But we're very grateful that Ginny has stayed on.
I had the same thought.
Yeah, we approved her high on that
Yep.
huge list last. at the
She's a
last
great math
meeting,
teacher.
yeah?
We need math teachers, and holy cow, I'm so appreciative that she was willing
Absolutely.
to stay on and
Yeah.
teach 2 classes for us.
Yeah.
Okay, it just hit me that,
Yeah. All right, so, any other discussion? We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, we're unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, other business that may legally come before the meeting.
I think A and F took care of all of that.
Yeah, we had a lot tonight. All right, so we are good. We have no non-public tonight. I think that's the first time in forever. And then we start budget next meeting, right?
We sure
have a school
do.
board meeting first, and then we go into budget.
Yep.
So, may I make a motion
You may,
that we adjourn?
absolutely. I have a motion from Dan. Do I have a second? I was gonna say, nobody wants to
Nobody knows.
second? We all want to stay? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
We're our homework.
we are adjourned.